there's an understanding that
Right.
we have to get to a government
Right.
that is responsive and representative of the Syrian people. Obviously, that's not the Assad regime. There's an understanding, and it's all laid out in the communique, that this transition to that government has to be Syrian-led and has to include the voices of the Syrian people, which would convey that also Assad's not going to be at the end. And we have said consistently, and we're not the only nation inside the ISG who has said this, that Assad can't be part of the future of Syria. But we have said the manner in which he goes, the when, the how, the where to, all of that has yet to be decided, which is why it's important to continue this process.
Okay, I just want to follow up on Brad's point, because we all remember when Secretary Clinton said that Assad and his cronies. What is meant by cronies? Are we talking about the regime? Are we talking about the whole apparatus? Is it similar to Iraq? Because there was also an open letter sent out by your last envoy to Syria, Robert Ford, saying that it's not only Assad, but also those close to him and so on. So we're beginning to see that, the demand for Assad's departure may include the government or the system or the security services or the army, which, bring in a situation similar to that of Iraq.
Well, I'm not going to be able to list for you
Right.
who or who isn't a quote-unquote crony. Right. Obviously, there are people close to Assad and deeply loyal to him who are complicit in the atrocities that he's perpetrating against his people. And I assume, you have to assume, that will be part of these discussions, who they are and what their future is too. I don't want to get ahead of that. But what the Secretary has also said is, as we work through this transition, it's important that the institutions of government, the functioning institutions, the institutions that the people of Syria are going to need to continue to rely on, need to stay in place. So whether it's economic, educational, perhaps even military, some of those institutions have got to stay in place. But what they look like, who leads them, how they're administered going forward, all of that's going to be part of the negotiations, which is why it's so important to get the parties together as early in the next year as possible. I just couldn't tell you exactly what that's going to be right now. That's why it's important to keep having these meetings.
And my last point is on the opposition. The latest reports suggest that the Free Syrian Army, which you invested so much in, is basically collapsing. People are, joining, defecting and joining other groups and so on. And that is the most moderate group. I mean, listening to the debate last night, it was quite enlightening. Some of the debaters were saying, who are these moderate opposition groups that you keep talking about? Who are they?
So, we've talked about this a lot.